Hey, and thanks for joining me for another video in this series called 5 Things I Like About, and then insert team. I've done the Atlantic, I've done the Metro, and I'm just wrapping up the Central now. I've got St. Louis left, and I've got Winnipeg. And of course, as you can tell from the title of this video and the merch that I'm wearing now, we're going to talk about the Winnipeg Jets. Kind of sad that we're almost done this, or I'm almost done this series. It's been a fun process for me to go through every team, so I've been enjoying it, but I've got the list in front of me here of the 5 things that I like about the Winnipeg Jets. Let's go. Canadian team. Now, as a Canadian, I feel obligated to cheer more for Canadian teams than others. With that said, there are some Canadian teams that I just don't really care that much for. The Toronto Maple Leafs. I don't mind Vancouver, but I don't get a chance to watch a lot of Vancouver because they're literally on the other side of the country, so I just don't have the same exposure to Vancouver that I do other teams. But Winnipeg is kind of in that sweet spot. They're in the Central, so most of the games aren't too late, so I get the opportunity to watch quite a few Winnipeg Jets games. And also, like, they have the Canadian, part of the Canadian flag, the Canadian Maple Leaf is in the logo. That's amazing. So I'm very proudly Canadian. I'm proud that the Winnipeg Jets are back in the NHL. Sorry to lose Atlanta Flames, or the Atlanta Thrashers, sorry, not the Atlanta Flames. The Atlanta Flames became the Calgary Flames. Sorry to lose the Atlanta Flames. I like their logo, their jersey and stuff. They had a pretty good story for the most part. But it's nice to have the Winnipeg Jets back in the NHL and back in Canada. And their fan base has exploded, and I'm very proud that they're a Canadian team. And like, it might be a biased opinion, and maybe I should not necessarily cheer for them just because they're Canadian, but I am Canadian and I can't help it. I like Canadian things. I like Canadian teams, and Winnipeg is a Canadian city with a Canadian team. So, easy one for my list. Number 2, logos and colors. If you followed my content for any amount of time, then you know that I like transportation, specifically aviation. So anytime a team puts a train or a plane or any kind, or a boat, any kind of transportation, like, I'm going to gravitate probably towards that team just in general, not including anything else. So the fact that the Winnipeg Jets literally have a plane in their logo is incredible. I mean, this is one of the best logos in the league, in my opinion. I know a lot of people disagree with that, but I just think it's simple. It's complex in areas. The color is great, and it's just designed so well. So I think it has a lot of variations it has a lot of elements that in a design, from a design standpoint, are pretty spectacular. So I really like this logo. And the colors, you got this light blue, and then the dark blue, and then, oh, sorry, I'm mirrored. I'm looking at the screen. The A has the stroke around it. The numbers have the same stroke. You can see the back. Numbers have the same stroke. So the color combination works, and you get that hint of red in the logo, and then the silver of the Jet. It just looks fantastic. And then obviously they have lots of other jerseys. They brought back that they didn't bring back that they had, but they had the alternate jerseys from 2 years ago. They just had the Jets across, and the whole jersey was kind of the color of this light blue. And then the Heritage Classic jersey that they had, which was a dark blue and had a kind of a throwback logo, and then they had kind of the white version of that as well. Just a fantastic color combination on every single jersey and the logos. I can't complain. One of the best in the league. Number 3, Kyle Connor. Yeah, I could choose the easy ones, the Blake Wheelers, the Mark Scheifele's, Connor Hellebuyck. There's all kinds of superstars that I could choose on Winnipeg, but isn't Kyle Connor kind of a superstar? I mean, maybe not, but he's an amazing goal scorer. I picked him, and I picked him for this list because I usually cheer for underdogs, and he's not necessarily an underdog in the sense that he underperforms and he could do more, and he doesn't, but he doesn't get the attention that he deserves. He performs for the most part consistently. And he's so fast. He's skilled. I like his personality too. That's a big thing for me. I always try and watch a lot of player interviews off the ice, even though hockey has, or the NHL specifically, has the worst sports interviews in any sport across the entire planet. But I still like to watch them. I like to see the players off the ice to show a little bit of their personality. That's why players like PK Subban are popular, because of their off-ice personality. Even Alexander Ovechkin has, he's a character. He's literally like a definition of a character. So I tend to gravitate towards those players. Kyle Connor is, I think he's very intelligent. That's not to say that most NHL players aren't. I just like the style of interview that he gives. I think he's quite intellectual, and he's obviously quite skilled. So Kyle Connor has to be on my list. One of my favorite goal scorers in the league and players in general. Number 4, Joel Armia, aka Joel Armia. Joel Armia is Finnish. He comes from one of my favorite countries in the world, if not my favorite country outside of Canada. I love Finland, Sweden, all those countries around there are just a fantastic place on this planet. Joel Armia is kind of that underdog, a little bit just like Kyle Connor. He was drafted, Joel Armia was drafted high, kind of underperformed, but really has this hidden skill that just comes out every once in a while, and you're like, wow, he's legit. And I wish he was a little bit more consistent, and he has been this year. He's been quite well. Now, he plays for my favorite team, which is the Montreal Canadiens. So I'm very happy that he's on my team. But the reason I started to like Joel Armia is because I saw the Winnipeg Jets play in person against Vegas in a playoff game a couple of years ago. And he's the player off Winnipeg that I noticed the most. He was great away from the puck. He was great on the penalty kill. He was great winning battles along the boards. He really stood out to me. And at that time, like I said, he was a Winnipeg Jet. He wasn't a Montreal Canadian. And at that moment, I really started to follow him and his career. So when he got traded to Montreal, it was fantastic news. One of my favorite players in the NHL got traded to my team. Heck yeah. Number 5, I saw them live. Now, as I mentioned in the previous one, I got to see the Winnipeg Jets play in person. Now, that might not be a big deal for the majority of the people watching, because the majority of the people watching probably live close to NHL cities. The majority of my viewers live in the United States, 51%. So I would say there's probably 90% of you live closer than 3 or 4 hours away from an NHL team. The closest I am is 7, I think. It's either 7 or 8. I can't remember if Boston is closer or if Montreal is closer. But what I'm trying to get at is I'm not close to an NHL team. I don't have the ability to go see an NHL team play on a regular basis. I can count the NHL games that I've been to on 2 hands, almost 1 hand. So I haven't been to a lot of NHL games, and that means the teams that I have got to see play, I pay a little bit more attention to. That seems so silly to say, that just because I saw a team play in person means that I follow them a little bit more. But there's just something about seeing those players in person, seeing the team in person, seeing the jerseys and the logos in person. You kind of relate that experience or that vacation in my situation. Most of the NHL games that I've seen have been vacations for me. So you kind of relate that experience emotionally to a vacation, and then it has more of a positive memory basically around that moment. And so for me, I mean, that trip was amazing when I got to see Winnipeg and Vegas play. One of the reasons why I like Vegas so much too. So I kind of relate that experience to my like for the Winnipeg Jets. Again, kind of a silly reason, but it's really specific to me. And I really appreciate the opportunity that I had to see the Winnipeg Jets play and the Vegas Golden Knights. So that wraps up my list. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I'm going to do the St. Louis Blues next. So if you're not subscribed, I hope you can hit the subscribe button. That would be awesome. Otherwise, I have other videos on this channel. If you haven't seen them lately, I'm doing a lot of geography trivia, so doing some GeoGuessr. If you haven't played that, I highly recommend you go check it out and play it and tell me how you do. And also watch my videos too, because I don't think the videos are a lot of fun, but I selfishly have a lot of fun in the videos. So hope you're having a good day, and I'll see you in the next video. Adios.